Garden Report is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. Celtics undefeated still after overcoming a tight game, back and forth game to run away with another double-digit win, 119-108 over the Bucks. Bench, a big reason for it. No Dalzell here. Peyton Pritchard, Xavier Tillman logging some good minutes in this one, as well as Jordan Walsh, who finally broke through, received some playing time. Sam Hauser missed his third straight game, and we haven't seen Walsh in any meaningful time, not only this year, but pretty much his whole career. I feel like tonight were the first real rotation, consequential minutes of Jordan Walsh's career, and after a slow start, missing a couple threes, he came through with a pretty solid second half with a couple offensive rebounds, as well as a stop on Giannis Antetokounmpo that Joe Mazzulla highlighted.
Yeah, I mean, he really didn't get those kinds of opportunities last year. Like, this is a considerably different approach that Joe Mazzulla has toward him than he did last year, and probably more different than any other player. Like, there's not really another player that wasn't in the rotation at all last year that now we're seeing be looked at as one of the primary options. I mean, he was the second guy off the bench today, and didn't really do anything in that first stint, but then made a huge impact in those final 3 minutes of the third quarter. I didn't think he was going to start the fourth again, and then he did, which I think kind of goes to show you how comfortable Mazzulla felt with him out there. And had that offensive putback, had a nice stop on Giannis. But the big thing is just if he can hide and not make any major mistakes and play hard, then that's a huge win to get 10 minutes from Jordan Walsh right now, especially considering the expectations for him a few months back. I don't think anybody would have perceived that he was going to be one of the key bench pieces right now.
Yeah.
And he is.
Especially when you thought Shireman might be ready. He's clearly not. And then O'Shea Brissett going out the door, and now Hauser goes down. All of a sudden you're like, whoa, there's no wings. All you got is Springer and Walsh, who they probably didn't want to be part of the rotation going into this year. They probably expected him to at least start the year in Maine. But now as Maine season begins, you might need him. Who knows how long Hauser's going to be out. And that double big combination, Joe talked about before the game, that's probably the way we're going to lean. That's probably what we're going to do. And in that game in Washington, they used all four bigs to get by without Hauser. Then you cut Cade out. They clearly didn't love his defense. And then Tillman Cornette ends up being like a minus 30 almost. It was in that Pistons game specifically. And I didn't love them at the start of this game either. And finally, Mazzulla says, all right, let's just see what Walsh has here. And then the missed threes are killer, because that's probably the only way outside of offensive rebounding that he's going to get involved in this offense. But I think there's some creative ways. I think there's some potential there. You even saw in the preseason having him bring the ball up just so that the defense can't back off him. He's long enough, he's skilled enough, I think he's a good enough screener that you can involve him in some ways that minimize his shooting weaknesses. I mean, it's not like Tillman's the best shooter in the world.
Yeah, no, not at all. And again, it's just a handful of threes. There is still a question around, like, when given a bigger opportunity, what kind of three-point shooter is he? I still don't think we really know. But obviously, if he's able to become a 3-and-D player, we're talking about a whole different career trajectory. And I think that's the career that they're kind of banking on, or what they're hoping happens here with him. But I think this team is just more comfortable, and they're not playing double big for the most part. It's where they have more experience. And I mean the double bigs that you're referring to. And so going with Jordan today, I felt like it didn't really shift anybody out of what they were used to doing. Whereas when we saw some of those wonkier lineups earlier in the season, like, there is a little bit of a defensive, mishap that could arise there just because they're not as used to it too. And so I loved seeing Jordan come off the bench early on. And I'm glad that he got that second chance, because it can be hard to get 3 minutes. How many times have we seen it over the years where a guy gets really limited minutes, misses a few shots, and that's it. And it's really hard to even grow from there, because now you're kind of reliving those few minutes. That first stint now really doesn't matter, because he made his mark in that second stint, which was the most consequential of his very young professional NBA basketball career.
Yeah, and credit to Joe. You could have just pulled them and tightened it up in the second half again and went with 7 guys, but instead they gave him that extra opportunity, and now there's some hope to build on that. Going into a road trip against Indiana, Charlotte a couple games, a back-to-back that Horford's inevitably going to miss. So if Hauser misses some more time, you're going to be diving even deeper into that bench for more Cade and more of these guys at the back end of the rotation here. Peyton Pritchard obviously excellent in this game. Tillman a +10, as was Walsh here. And the bench ends up flipping the game after the Celtics trailed late in the third quarter and ended up building a double-digit lead into the fourth. and finally found a good second unit after searching for it a little bit over these last couple games without Hauser here. We're going to talk about the Bucks and what kind of threat they present. It was a close game, a contested game for most of this one, and you saw some ways maybe Milwaukee could challenge the Celtics in a potential playoff series down the line. The Celtics will see them in a couple weeks in November here, so we'll talk about that. Prize Picks, go over there now. Use code CLNS to get a $50 bonus when you play a $5 lineup, and check out the Game Time app. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase over there. Tickets, concerts, sports, and more. Terms apply with that code CLNS.